Thanks so much for joining today for our part 3, Totango's 5 strategies for customer growth within our 3-part series of Boldly Grow in an Unstable Economy. My name is Katie Agodnik. I'm our Director of Customer Success Operations and Digital Programs, and I'm here with my colleague Brittany, which I'll let her introduce herself in a second. But fun fact for the both of us, prior to working here at Totango, we were both customers and love being customers. So look forward to talking to you again today about 5 strategies for customer growth. Brittany, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Yes, my name is Brittany Reichwald, and I'm a product manager here at Totango. I focus specifically on success blocks. And at the end of this webinar, after Katie goes over the awesome strategies we're going to discuss today, I will talk to you about how you can easily implement those. And yes, I was also a Totango customer for about 3 years.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Okay, so we don't have any time to spare. We've got an action-packed agenda today for us to go through. And as you might have suspected, we had a poll earlier as you were getting on, where we were asking around some of the things that you're currently focusing on to drive customer growth. Specifically, what we're going to chat about today when it comes to the 5 strategies that we're really leaning into. We're going to talk a little bit about driving customer advocacy, how important that is for customer growth, making sure that you are doing everything you can to increase product adoption. In addition to that, and an extension of that, driving engagement and staying top of mind with your customers. Really increasing retention by showing your customers you know them with personalization. And then, of course, as a culmination of being really good at all these things, focusing on growth and expansion. So first, we're going to dive into driving customer advocacy. Really, when you take a look at things, customer advocacy provides the highest return on investment with the lowest marketing expenditure. Your external advocates are really a powerful tool because people trust their peers. I know I'm guilty of it. Before I purchase anything online, I am always the one looking at upwards of 10 to 15 reviews, especially if I've never used the product before. When you take a look at really what's happening in B2B, customers are more informed and really empowered than they ever have before. And with so many brands really competing for attention, it really has shifted the power to the customer, which is why it's so important to be able to show externally and have external advocates giving their opinion. So here, just a couple of things that stood out to me. 93% of online reviews influence a customer's decision. What really stood out to me was that people are willing to pay up to 31% more for businesses with positive reviews. And when I think back to just being a customer of many things, if a customer has a good experience with your company and they're happy and they are having successful business practices as a result of using your product, then they innately want your company to be successful and they're happy to talk about it. I myself was always happy to write external reviews specifically for Totango, in addition to talking to any customers, because I wasn't only happy, but we were having such success using it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about in this section, how you're going to build the customer advocacy machine by leveraging customer feedback and turning those into external reviews. And here's why I think doing this now is going to get you ahead of your competition. Recently, I read that 40% of organizations aren't even asking their customers for feedback. So if they're not asking their customers for feedback, how do they know who their promoters are so that they can start driving that external advocacy machine? So with that being said, just want to dive in with some practical things that I've learned in my experience in building that advocacy machine. In my experience, leveraging NPS as a one-to-many driver for the right people at the right time to ask to be external advocates and or ask them to be a referral for a one-to-one conversation with the customer has worked really successfully. If you're not familiar with NPS, basically it's a very easy on a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend my organization to someone else? And according to Bain, this is really important because it predicts 20 to 60% of our business growth trends. So here is what I have found to be useful and successful in building that advocacy machine is the first thing you have to do is establish a thoughtful plan. And what I mean by thoughtful is I'm not telling you or advocating that you right now drop everything and go blast all of your customers and ask them for feedback. One of the biggest things with NPS that I got from reading the book Net Promoter, Implement the System, was that NPS is all about giving back more than you extract. And so when you create that thoughtful action plan, make sure that your organization is ready to take action and follow up on the feedback that is given. Engage strategically. So what I mean by this is I've seen best practice for us and in the past, giving customers a heads up that you're going to be asking them for that feedback in the near future. And we've seen greater participation as a result. In addition to that, when you're sending NPS out, have it come from a human as opposed to system generated. We've really seen a lot more participation as a result of engaging our customers in that strategic fashion. And after you've done that, you will see NPS has three primary things you're looking for, and that's who are your detractors, who are your passives, and who are your promoters. And it's those promoters that are going to help build the advocacy machine. And an NPS is something that you put in that's ongoing. So once you've got this going, you can continue to send those people that are happy, that are being successful utilizing your product to those external sites and or set them up to tap on the shoulder for those one-to-one customer conversations. After that, always continuously measure results. You've got so many ways that you can do so. You can do it by business segment. You can do it by ARR. You can do it by industry so that you're always able to, like I mentioned again, give back more than you extract and take action on the feedback that's given. In addition to that, feedback in general from your customers is an organizational responsibility. And so you have to be able to have a mechanism to provide that organizational visibility. What we do is we leverage Totango's webhook to put that information into Slack so that we can really quickly take action on the positive feedback. And again, jump on driving that external advocacy machine and also follow up with those that we really need to move the needle on getting them to be promoters. Last but not least, you have to close the loop. Right now, our close the loop process is a bi-weekly product email that we are putting out to our customers so that they can see all the feedback that we're getting specifically to the product we are taking action on. Okay, so we've got 5 different strategies to cover. This one being the second one, being increasing product adoption. I recently was listening to a podcast called Masters of Scale, and the title of it was To Scale, Do Things That Don't Scale. And I thought, that is really interesting, but reminiscent of some of the past projects that I've done to drive adoption, product adoption with confidence. And so listening to this podcast, it was with Brian Chesky, Airbnb's CEO. He was talking a little bit about how when they first started Airbnb, he was in Malibu, California. All of his customers were in New York. And an investor said to him, "Why are you still here? Get to New York and find out what your customers want so you can build the best product that you can." So lo and behold, packed up, moved to New York, and he started knocking on his customers' doors, which by all means today is not scalable, but to know and move forward with confidence in what he was going to put forward as a product, he had to do the things that don't scale, which I'm all too familiar with. So when it comes to really putting together a plan that is going to drive product adoption, what I have seen and experienced in the past that has created success is really putting together a steering committee or a small team to divide and conquer data gathering. And what I say by data gathering, and what I mean by that is taking a look at all the review tickets. What are your customers saying? Who's saying it? Take a look at all of the customer facing touch points, tasks, activity history. And what you can do with that is you can start massaging that, putting it together and start asking yourself, well, How long has this been a customer? When did they start asking these questions, so that I can proactively learn how I can serve information up to them at the right time that's going to help them move along in their customer journey, and start asking myself, who is asking these questions? Because an end user might be asking something different than an admin versus an executive. And so once you have done this, you can bring that data together to create a cadence that really matches where your customer is within the journey of using your product. Again, none of this is scalable, but once you have it, you make something that's scalable, you make something that's ongoing and that your users can be a part of. And then, quickly it becomes this amazing scalable process that you're looking at the results of the adoption that you're driving. So let's talk a little bit about the who. Because the who has different goals for in different lengths of time that you're looking to achieve when a customer is using your product. So for us, and in the past, what I've seen is there's several different audiences. And this is just an overview for us when we first started with putting together a product adoption cadence. We very distinctly saw that we had users asking questions, admins asking questions, and then we had that executive suite. And we were able to lay out, well, when we put this cadence together, what do we want our customers' behavior to be that we've seen make other customers be successful, and when do we want them to achieve that? And so we set out to create this really robust product adoption strategy, and then we had to decide, okay, well, what types of engagement are we going to want to do to move the needle forward when it comes to increasing product adoption? So these are just a few of the tried and true that we've leveraged, and I've leveraged in the past that have been relatively successful. As I've mentioned here, just talked shortly about driving an entire adoption journey for your product. You can do weekly and monthly usage updates. You could think about doing celebrations and celebrate the wins when your customers are starting to adopt the things that you're helping them adopt because you want them to be successful. You can do transactional CSATs to make sure you're on track. You can do a whole myriad of new user trainings and one-to-many trainings, hold weekly office hours. As we talked a little bit at NPS, again, to gauge if you're on the right direction and continue gather continuous feedback, make those or help those customers be external advocates. And then obviously there's that table stakes of failure to launch. If you're not seeing somebody adopting your product, you've got to continue to go in and swoop them back into showing them the value that you have to offer. So just switching gears a bit when we're focusing into that driving digital adoption cadence, you always have to have a recipe for success. And when I say recipe for success, it's, hey, from everything from the subject line to what's in it for the customer to short how-tos, a call to action, because you want to see if what the content here correlates to them wanting to actually adopt what you're putting out. And I also always love to see self-help, so that in every single email that's sent out, customers do not have to search for ways for them to invest more in themselves in leveraging your product. I would also say, don't be afraid of an aggressive cadence. We watch our opt-out rates really aggressively to make sure that we are not putting content in front of the customers too often, but we also want to ensure that we're staying top of mind. And then in addition to that, have seen, from Vidyard in some of the different webinars they've had, that keeping video short is key. 58% completion rate if you keep that 60-second video, or that video under 60 seconds. And we've really seen engagement grow as we keep our video short and sweet. So those are just some ideas around how to continue to work on driving product adoption. So now, sort of intertwined with driving product adoption is just engagement in general and staying top of mind. You really want to be able to reinforce with your customers that they made the right decision in investing in your organization, and keep the company top of mind. And this doesn't have to be anything intricate or complicated. It can be as simple as creating a relationship such as a simple thank you for being a customer and remembering, and showing how appreciative you are for them being a customer, to proactively being a thought leader. We have an entire track for customers that don't have time to proactively come and look at and get thought leadership information from us that we're proactively serving up to our customers to make sure that they're in the know of what's going on in customer success and best practices. And then what I had mentioned before is just always we're trying to reinforce, and again, just an idea for all of you, reinforce customer feedback that we're listening and we're continuing to make evolutions and iterations based on what our customers are wanting to have done. One of my favorites, as I had mentioned before, the table stakes of bringing your customers back to using your product by reminding them the value that your product can provide. In addition to that, always like to have a bailout for customers if they are not understanding something and they want a human to talk to, right? It's not always about digital, it's about creating experiences that your customers want to have. And then I love to show our customers that we know them by celebrating when they come back. I will say I have done this exact same practice internally in trying to drive engagement of having my team adopt a tool. And so I will share with you one of my tidbits for that, that if you decided to not only do this for your customers, but you're trying to drive adoption within your tool, give people at least 10 days before you start hitting them with come back into the tool, because there are vacations that need to be accounted for. So just thought I would share that with the larger group, but this is another one that has worked relatively well. We're seeing upwards of 60% engagement of customers coming back in to the tool after doing this very simple follow-up. Last but not least, it isn't always about the digital campaigns, but it's also about creating that seamless experience and keeping your customers in the platform. And so that's another way that you can create a great experience, drive engagement, and do a lot when it comes to just self-paced learning and giving customers what they need in the tool. Okay, so next is increasing retention, really the show me, you know me. This is one of my favorite topics because it really comes down to having a tool that can give you the ability to personalize and show your customers that you know them. It's crazy to me that by the end of 2023, we're going to have 347 billion emails that are going to be sent. Only 20% of them are getting open and 10% will have engagement. So why is everyone spending so much time on engagements that, or on emails that customers aren't engaging with? And if personalization is the key, why is only 11% of email campaigns have some form of personalization? And I say this because in having my past experience with leveraging Totango, personalization really is key. And they really give us the trifecta of personalization, or what I call hyper-personalization. And this is helping to show your customers that you know them. And so with that being said, what's I've seen in terms of hyper-personalization is it goes beyond just hi and yes, we know your first name, fantastic. But because you're able to bring all these different types of disparate data together, you're able to segment and ensure that you're hitting the right audience at the right time by industry, by ARR, by where they're at in the customer journey. And in addition to that, create mindful and personalized messaging that really is showing you know them by being able to put into your communications relevant statistics and value metrics. You know, what we saw as part of our salary survey is that CS strategies gain 40% greater year-over-year growth in their annual revenue by really focusing on hyper-personalization. So I know that we are time is of the essence here, so I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but just wanted to show you one of the ways that we are continuing to reinforce value and showing our customers that we know them. And we do this for a myriad of different audiences, and it allows you to really go into the content personalization and bring up value metrics that we've heard from our customers are important to them. I wanted to also call out that the top format at Totango is plain text, which doesn't surprise me, is because for personalization to also take effect from a one-to-many way, you really also want it to look like it's a one-to-one interaction. It doesn't always have to be the bold marketing voice, but you can do it at scale at Totango by leveraging plain text. Also wanted to introduce that as a form of personalization and making sure that when your emails go out, they look like they came out from a person actually putting them together during business hours. We have this rolling out here soon, business hour option for campaign deliveries. And so would be remiss to not call this out, as we know a lot of our customers had asked for this, but this is another way to make sure that you are working within the confines of your customers. And last but not least, our fifth strategy is growth and expansion. My favorite quote up here is that upsells are the result of the growth a customer has enjoyed because of your commitment to delivering lifetime value. And that really is the case. If you're helping your customers be successful, why wouldn't they want to continue to invest in your company? Why wouldn't they want to tell other people within their organization about the success that they're having so other people can really hop on to that same exact success train? So when it comes to upsells and cross-sells, we've talked a lot about how you can engage strategically from knowing what the customer sentiment is by leveraging NPS. You have the ability to hyper-personalize. You can look, as I've mentioned a couple times, by segment, by product they purchased, by ARR. For me, which was really important, was I have the health of knowing who is utilizing products, so that if I'm going to have the team focus on going after customers for a cross-sell, upsell, I know that they are having a good experience using them, and those are really the first people to go after. So having really those three different components will allow you to identify and pursue customers that are, for example, hitting limits, and or identify customers that are a perfect target for a new product that you have that they aren't leveraging yet. Just a personal quick story of mine was in our first stint in my past, utilizing Totango to do a upsell event. We were able to really quickly identify targets based on customer health, based on people that were hitting limits. We did a success play. We did a follow-up campaign to those particular customers, and we were able to increase the contract value with those customers by $112,000 within a 2-week time period. So there's a lot to be said about bringing all of these elements together, using them to engage strategically, to again help you lean into your customers for growth. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Brittany to talk a little bit about how Totango is going to help you do this easily.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie.
Yep.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about here, just a quick overview, is what our customer journey marketplace is. What is a success block? And a success block is a pre-built best practice template that's going to give you all of the tools you need to get programs like this up and running very quickly and very easily. We want to enable you with all of those tools to make the process easy to visualize, give you tips on how to measure success within your programs. And we've got a success block for pretty much every area of your customer journey, whether your goal is to manage onboarding, monitor your health, detect your risk, get an overview of where all of your customers are at. And the success block we're going to review today is engaged customers. So it's going to really reinforce everything that Katie has talked about in terms of make sure you're being proactive, make sure you're strategically engaging, using personalization, and most importantly, staying top of mind with your customers. So we'll go ahead and dive straight into that demo. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's a couple of components that make up a success block. The two that we're going to primarily cover today are the canvas and the scorecard. So on the canvas, you can see here, theme of this presentation, you should recognize all of these strategies because there's a track for each strategy we've talked about today. And in each one of these tracks, we have cards, and the cards represent different campaigns that you can use to achieve these goals. So for example, we have growth and expansion. We have low on licenses and cross-sell to help you grow your business. For engagement, we have sending out new case studies, user win backs like Katie talked about earlier. And we also have multiple under drive customer advocacy. So these are all available to you to go in and utilize immediately. You can even enable from this canvas. And the other thing that's great about the success block is there is backend automation to where you don't necessarily have to do the work, for example, when it comes to references, of manually updating who is willing to be a reference. So in this example of a reference survey, it looks at anybody who's been a promoter in the past couple of days, and it's automatically going to reach out to them and say, hey, we love what we do because of customers like you. Would you be willing to be a reference? Now, when they click confirm, it's going to take them to a landing page and automatically update to Totango to say, yes, this user is willing to be a reference. And it'll update the account level to say, yes, you have someone with this account who is willing to be a reference. So again, taking that manual labor out of tracking those references and making it as automated as possible. Now, we've got great campaigns in here, but how do we measure success? Well, we can go into our scorecard, and the scorecard is where you're going to visualize all of your goals and KPIs. So again, with the theme today, you can see each goal is associated with one of the strategies that we've talked about. This is going to give you visibility into everything you need to know. What percentage of your customer base is willing to be a reference? How often are you talking to those customers? How many accounts have had no touch points in the last 30 days? So really, these are giving you all of the metrics that matter.
Awesome.
And with that said, I'll go ahead and pass it back over.
Just a few key takeaways, because I know we're going to be wrapping up here shortly, and apologize that we're not going to have time for any questions, but I really hope that you were able to get a lot of great ideas as you walk away today for how you can drive customer growth. But I would say there's no better time than now to lean into your customers. Your customers do want to help you be successful. And in addition to that, there is a lot more to be done when it comes to customer advocacy and driving adoption and engagement and customers with upsell and growth. So definitely lean into your customers today, engage strategically. We gave you a lot of examples of how you can do that. And then last but not least, Totango makes it very easy for you to apply all these strategies that we went through today to go tackle customer growth today. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time. Coming up here, just wanted to do a shout out. We have a few webinars. What's new to optimize CS is coming up next week, Thursday, July 28th. Secrets to driving customer retention is August 11th. And then of course, we want to make sure to invite all of you to join us in Miami, September 14th through the 16th for our Customer Success Summit, where we're going to learn, collaborate, create everything customer success together. So with that being said, everybody have a fantastic rest of the day. Take care and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.